Hey everyone. I've wanted to do this video for a while because I've been writing a lot about my experience, and I think it's also important to have a more personal response. As many of you know, we lost our son Henry, who was stillborn at 32 weeks. It was the night before I was 32 weeks along. And this experience has opened me up to the world of miscarriage and stillbirth. And I've learned that 1 in 4 pregnancies end in a loss. And that is really heart-wrenching, and it's really crazy. Like, that's way more than I had expected. And a part of me is kind of not excited, but happy that I can speak to a group of people who need a lot of help, because I still need a lot of help. This kind of loss is very unique. In a lot of ways, people feel that it's very isolating. They feel there's an element of guilt, that no matter how hard you try to push that away, it's still kind of in the back of your mind. And you're also not only mourning the past, you're not mourning something or someone that you've lost, that you have these memories with, but you're also mourning the future. And the loss of a child it also robs you of parenthood. And even if you have kids before your loss, it robs you of parenting that child. So no child loss is minimized by another. It's all awful and it's all super painful. But there is hope, and this is not the end of the road, and things will get better. I just want to dive really quick into our story of what happened, and in hopes to bring awareness, and in hopes that if you are going through a loss, that you would feel seen. And then I also just want to talk briefly to parents who are going through a loss, and hopefully encourage you in your journey. And then just kind of go from what my goals and hopes are from there. So, okay, 3 months ago, I was 7 months pregnant, and I woke up one morning. It was a Monday morning. Sorry, it was a Tuesday morning, Monday night, at 4:30 in the morning. And I said, Drew, like, I have not felt him moving. And we got up, and I was like, maybe I'll eat some breakfast cereal. Like, sometimes if I eat, like, he would move. And I said, and we got an app on my phone that does the heartbeat monitor, and we heard his heartbeat, and we were like, okay, he's fine. But I decided I would do something in the morning. So the next morning, I woke up, I called the doctor. They said that I should go straight to labor and delivery, which I was shocked. Like, I thought, okay, I didn't think I was that far along, but here we go. And there's a part of me that was really excited too. And go to labor and delivery. It's like COVID times too, so it was just a fucking nightmare. Sorry. Should have done a little PSA. I'm probably gonna cuss. So I go to labor and delivery, and they take me up to the non-stress test room. I'm with some of the other women there. Some of them like get these regularly, I guess, which is my new reality next time around. And they said, his heart rate is in the normal range, but it's not fluctuating, and we like to see it fluctuate. And I was like, okay. Then I go down to the ultrasound room. And one thing I need to explain is that when you are in this situation, you are looking for any glimmer of hope. Like, you are just like, just give me something that I can hold on to know my baby's okay. And you're also like, but I need answers too, because there's like a very maternal instinct part of you that's like, hang on, like, I need this like fixed. And I need to know that everything's okay. So it's like a very dueling thing happening inside. Okay, so go down, have an ultrasound, and they said, okay, well, she was like having me jump up and down. She was like using the little ultrasound thing to like try to get him to move. And she's like, no, I think you just have a really stubborn baby who's sleeping. And I was like, okay. So I figured, all right. And she said, your amniotic fluid looks good. You know, I'm seeing breathing movements in his lungs. And there was one other thing that she said like checks out, but he didn't move. I did not watch him move. She said she saw his foot in one position, I jumped up and down, and it moved into a different position in between the scans. So I was, and this is where the guilt sets in. And for anyone who has experienced this, I need you to know right now, it is not your fault. Whatever happened, whatever decisions you made, whatever you did, you need to know right now, it is not your fault. And if you're experiencing feelings of guilt, you need to say no to that. And you know, there's different techniques you can use, but you just need to isolate that voice and say, hey, that is not the truth. Like, I am guilt-free. Because, yeah, like there are so many what ifs that go through your brain, and you just have to be strong and push those to the side and say, it's not the truth because that's not what happened. And so if there's a what if or an if only, just discredit those. They're not true. So anyways, story's gonna get long. Okay, so I go back up to the room. I FaceTime my doctor because COVID times. And like, honestly, it was so shitty. Like, the FaceTime was like going in and out, and I could barely understand her. But all I heard was, okay, you're good. Go home. I'm seeing you in 2 days anyway, and if anything changes or if anything else happens, come back to labor and delivery. I was like, great, sounds good. So the next morning I wake up and I'm like, you know, he still isn't moving. And at this point in my head, I'm thinking I just have a stubborn kid who likes to sleep, which is Drew's personality, likes to sleep, and my personality, a little stubborn, just to kind of come together. And so we went back in. Thank God I packed a bag. Again, it was COVID, so Drew had to stay downstairs, but I fortunately watched another pregnant woman go in who was in active labor, and so I heard the instructions of what her husband had to do. So I'm texting him like, okay, go to the front, just wait for my instructions. I go up, they admit me into, well, they didn't, yeah, so they take me into a labor and delivery room, and I'm thinking, that's kind of interesting. They didn't take me to the non-stress test room. And the same nurse from the day before, who was so sweet, she hooks me up to the monitor and she says, I'm so sorry, I'm not finding a heartbeat. And at this point I start panicking, and I'm like sobbing and my stomach's moving. I'm just like, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to like stay calm, but I can't. They find a heartbeat, but it's mine. And then they bring in a second ultrasound. They bring in a second ultrasound machine. And that's when they confirm it. And I am haunted by my imagination of what I must have sounded like. And they were so great. Like, they let me call Drew, and Drew came up immediately, and we just like wept together. And the nurses were amazing. Like, I cannot say anything better than, like, the nurses and my doctor were just so great. Like, my doctor called me and she was like, I am so sorry. I, like, went off of what I received from the ultrasound tech, which was that he was fine. And again, there's like all those what ifs. You got to push them away. So I knew two things. I knew I wasn't going home because I had heard stories of women who had been told that they had to go home. And I just want to take a pause to say to you, if you are ever in a medical situation, it is your right to say what you know your needs, and it's your right to say what those needs are. because I was very adamant. I said, I am not going home. And fortunately, my doctor agreed, and she was like, yeah, I do not think that would be good for, medical reasons. He can't be inside you for very long, but she's like, just for your own mental health, like, we're not going home. And the second thing I asked her was, what are my chances? What would it look like if I had a C-section? And she said she was worried about the scar, and the scar being triggering. And let me tell you, that is the stupidest reason ever. Because if you go through something like this, everything is triggering. Like, I could see like a bird and I'd be like, oh, yep, that reminds me of this. Like, every single thing. Like, it's like, oh, look, the sky is blue today. Boy, blue, I lost my son. Like, it's just, everything. And so I thought about it and called her back, and I said, no, I want a C-section. So I was like, I want to go home. I don't want to go home, sorry. And I want him out and in my arms as soon as possible. And I'm very glad that I made that decision. That is not the best decision for everyone, but for me, the idea of being in labor for 2 to 3 days, just waiting for my body to be ready to deliver a child, and to go through, the pain of delivering him, because what gets you through labor is the hope and the joy of seeing your baby. And I couldn't do that. So I had a C-section. It went great. I highly recommend them. I'm not a doctor, so don't take any of my advice. But yeah, my C-section was great. They said, do you want to wait until you're in the recovery room, which is just right around the corner? And I said, yeah. And so we went to the recovery room, Drew and I, and it was the most magical, joyful, wonderful feeling in the world to hold my son. And I'm so sorry to all of the parents who don't get to experience that. I highly encourage you to hug a pillow or a stuffed animal or something, because it helps. Okay, so where am I going with this? The first thing I want to say is I'm a huge advocate of kick counts. And I am not pregnant yet, but when I do get pregnant, I'm gonna be a psycho. And that's just the way it is. And I'm okay with that. And granted, you don't wanna be so crazy stressed that you are, stressing out the baby, but whatever feelings you're having, you feel those feelings. Like, there's a time and a place to go through the motions and feel stressed and feel anxious and feel, anger. Like, all of those feelings are completely reasonable and they are completely okay. So, kick counts, what are they? Okay, so what you are gonna do, you can also look this up online, is once you get to a certain gestation period, I'll probably start doing like, I don't know, I gotta talk to my doctor because we're gonna be doing weird stuff, but I'll probably start doing them at 20 weeks. So, especially if you have not noticed movement, and especially if you had a baby that moved a lot. If you have a placenta that's facing the other way, or if you have a baby who's like not a mover, then this is a lot harder. But what you're supposed to do is drink a cup of cold water and lay down on your side and count how many kicks you get in an hour. And as long as it's over 10, you're in the clear. If you're not, you need to the ER. Or call your clinic if you're before 30 weeks. But I'm a huge advocate of that. And I know that sounds like crazy, but honestly, if it can save a life, do it. The second thing I want to say is trust your instincts. I feel that I instinctually knew that I should not go home and that I should have a C-section. It was just a weird thing where this kind of calm came over me, and it was like, do these things. And it was probably God, but honestly, like, you have maternal instincts, trust them. And then the other thing I want to say is, even with that advice, it is still not your fault. Like, we are only in so much control. And I think what this has made me realize is that I am out of control. There is so little that I can do. And I really hope I take that into parenting my future children, because I want them to live lives that are full, and I want them to live lives full of experiences. And I don't want to be a helicopter mom who's like, wait, don't get hurt, don't, within reason. And I think the realization of, hey, I'm not in control is a really good one. And I wish that I could have learned that in a less painful way, but it's a very good lesson to learn. And it's something that I actually, like, when I was only 10 weeks along, had a realization of that. And I think that was preparing me for this. The other thing I want to say is that I have started blogging my thoughts, and eventually I'll have some more resources and I'll have some more things. And so that is sort of my therapy. It's something that really helps me process. It's something that really helps me, even this, like, it helps me kind of orient my thoughts, because if I can put that into something that I know is going to be read or heard, it helps me. I've always been a talker. So yeah, find whatever works for you. Grief takes many forms, and if you need to go on a hike, read a book, or just sit and stare at a wall, like, you do what you need to do, and there is no judgment. The other thing I was going to say is that I think I have 2 videos and other things up that when I was in the hospital and I woke up the next morning, I thought I need to delete those. Like, I can't see that, like, that's... And then a couple days later, thankfully I had not, because then I realized, why would I delete something that reminds me of my son? There's a video on there that was our gender reveal, and I'm not gonna take that down. Like, that's one precious memory I have in the short time that he was with me. And so I'm preserving that, and I'm preserving him and his memory in every way that I can. So yeah, that's where I'm at. We're 3 months in, and gosh, we have so much to learn, and we so appreciate all of our friends who have given us so much support and love, our friends and family. Like, we've just felt such an outpouring of love, and we really appreciate it. Like, I will write a thank you note someday, but I just am so thankful. And my information is out there. So if you are going through something similar, or you have additional resources or things that you want heard or seen, please reach out. You are so loved. You are so strong, and we are going to get through this together. I love you.